In this episode, I mostly want to cover Kamala's weaknesses as she hits the campaign trail and as she tries to make her case to the American people for their vote and for why she should be the next president of the United States. Um, I I think one of her biggest hurdles, and I'm gonna name a few as I go along in this episode, but I think one of her biggest hurdles is going to be surrounding Joe Biden and his health and the cover up that they, and when I say they, I mean Democrats, I mean the media, how they all had on him, how they all covered up for him. Kamala Harris is the vice president of the United States. Kamala Harris has said on multiple occasions that she works with Joe Biden every single day. Every single day. And for 3.5 years has told Americans and the world, mind you, because all eyes are on America, on the world stage. Many times she has said, no, Joe Biden is healthy, he's vigorous, he's young, well, not young, but he's doing great, and he's awesome, and he's amazing, and he's incredible. He's just with it. He's commanding in the room. He's in charge. All of that is clearly shown to be a lie. Daily Mail. There's an article in the Daily Mail, and it's a huge number of voters. And when I say huge, you won't believe the number. Like the amount shocks me. And I'm right leaning. Okay. 92%. I'm just gonna say 92% of registered voters in a new YouGov Times of London poll said that Harris was behind the efforts to conceal Biden's failing cognitive fitness and physical well-being as his staff maintained to press and the public that the president was fit for a second term. Okay. Here's the breakdown. U.S. voters who think Kamala is to blame for Biden's health cover-up. 68% said a great deal to blame. 68. So nearly 70%, 70% believe that Kamala Harris was part of the cover-up. 17 say somewhat to blame. 7% say a little to blame. 4% said not at all to blame. And 4% were not sure. So you can't get 92% of Americans to agree on anything. 92%. And this is not likely voters, this is registered voters. Okay. So 92% are saying, oh yeah, she had at least something to do with it. That is absolutely huge. How is she going to overcome that on the campaign trail? That question will come up. It is going to come up. She's going to be interviewed at some point, or she's going to be in a debate at some point, and the topic of Joe Biden's health and the cover-up, that topic will come up, and she is going to have to answer. You can't pivot from that. You can't pivot from that. You can't say, well, Donald, let's talk about your health. No. Let's talk about the actual president of the United States health. Let's talk about his health. Let's talk about that guy. And how you said he's fine. He's with it. He's completely okay. There's nothing wrong with him. He's dandy. He's with it. He's strong. All of those things. See, in private, they would always say, oh, he's amazing. He's strong and he's great. But it seems that in public, Joe Biden could not stop making a fool of himself. He couldn't stop falling. He couldn't stop tripping. He couldn't stop fumbling words and doing gaffes and all of those things. In private, he's amazing. But in public, he's terrible. You know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like that guy that you went to school with, or you go to school with, and he swears that he can dunk on a 10-foot basket. But he can never do it in front of people. But he can only do it like when he's by himself or with his closest friends. It's the equivalent of that. It's like we all know that this isn't true. You say one thing happens in private, but whenever we see you in public, you can never do the thing that you say you can do. That's going to be a big hurdle for Kamala Harris. She's going to have to come out and say, Joe was not okay. How long did you know Joe Biden wasn't okay? She can't say, well, when I saw the debate, I was shocked too. That can't be the case if you have proclaimed that you work in close quarters with the man every single day. When someone has cognitive decline, you see it, especially when you're with them every single day. Joe Biden has looked worse literally every day of his presidency. He has looked god-awful. In that speech where he's sitting at the Oval Office for 11 minutes, he barely got through that, you guys. He's clearly drugged up. Look at his blink rate. It was slow. Like the man was, he couldn't even do it very well. That question is going to come up, and she's going to have to answer that. That's a major hurdle for her on the campaign trail. A second topic that's going to come up is Kamala Harris. You received no votes. No one voted for you. People voted for Donald. Now, again, I had a TikTok about this. You may not like Donald Trump's voters. You may not like Donald Trump, the person. You may not like the idea of MAGA. You may not like the movement of MAGA. Got it. Fine. Go right ahead. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump actually has millions of people behind him who we know are behind him because they actually voted for him. They actually voted for him. Donald Trump got in the primaries. He earned the nomination. You, Kamala, didn't earn it. You were your candidate, who you said was very, very much alive and very much running for re-election. He dropped out. He endorses you. The Democratic Party gets in line. They put all their support behind you. No actual voters voted for you. That's a major point. And your whole selling point, you keep saying this on the campaign trail. I'm gonna prosecute Donald Trump. I'm gonna get him. I know his type. He's a con man. He's a fraudster. He's a cheater. He's a predator. Okay, all right. Good luck with that. Americans already have their opinions of Donald Trump. Like, you're not going to expose anything new. The man's only been investigated for like a decade now. Almost a decade, since like 2015. Ever since he came down the escalator. So that happens. And you are going to have to figure out how to explain to the American people why you deserve their vote. They didn't vote for you, Kamala Harris. They did not vote for you. Delegates got behind you. They pledged their support to you. But delegates are not voters. And you may say Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Pretty hard to make that case when he was actually voted for. If anyone's a threat to democracy, Miss Harris, if I had to choose, if I was completely objective and just a regular, say I was a Martian and I fell from Mars and just landed here in Dallas, and someone came to me and I asked them, hey, what's going on? I'm lost, and I'm just spending the day with this person, and they're talking to me about their world that I just fell to. And then I see I see on a television, I see Donald Trump and I see Kamala Harris. I say, hey, tell me about those people. What happened? And this person says, yeah, that guy over there, he's a threat to democracy. And I say, okay, what about her? Well, she's good. And then you say, well, Donald Trump was actually the orange guy was actually voted for, but the other person wasn't. I would have to think in my own head, if I'm completely objective, that woman is the actual threat to democracy because she was not voted for by the voters. It's going to be a hard sell.